pass that while my father tarried in the wilderness, he spake unto us, saying, Behold, I have dreamed a dream, or in other words, I have seen a vision, even at Messiah, or in other words, a Savior of the world. But I would speak in other words. They set him at naught, or in other words, he said that a man, or in other words, being without beginning, in other words, blessed is he, in other words, 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 in other words. What? What's wrong?
It's nothing.
No, come on, tell me.
Well, we've been at it for a while now.
You tired?
No, I'm just noticing that the gold plates say, in other words, quite a bit.
Okay, what's the problem?
Well, if you think about it, how are these plates written again?
Engraved by the hands of the prophets, of course.
Right. Well, the prophets all saying, in other words. I mean, if it were me, and I had to engrave hundreds of pages worth of writings on gold plates, especially during the times that evil men were chasing me around ready to kill me, I would just get to the point and say what I mean the first time, rather than say it in two ways to make it more abstract.
Martin?
Oh, I mean, but of all the stiff points lately, this one's not that big.
That's what your wife said to me last night.